assuming everyone looks their best. Now, that's not going to happen. So number 6, I'm going to say that's my swing one that I'm not sure of because it's either going to be I'm going to say I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind, to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
RX Television, RXMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, the Olympia edition of Ask Dave. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi, welcoming you into Olympia Week. It is officially Olympia Week. Dave is going to be joining us this week on Thursday. Chris Aceto and I will be
joining
live
right now.
What's that?
I'm joining you right now.
Oh, well, I mean, virtually, but in person.
That's true.
Nonetheless, this week, it is one of the most overwhelming times of the week, especially for us, for what it is that we do during the course of the run-up to the Olympia, and, of course, everything that we do on site at the Olympia. But it's worth it. It's one of the most fun times of the year. It's one of the most exhausting times of the year. But, at the end of the day, this is what we work all year round for, to bring you the most comprehensive coverage of the Olympia. Right now on the channel, the full interview with Jay Cutler, Jay breaking down the entire Olympia. Again, we're so appreciative not only of his time, but I mean the way that he comprehensively broke down, all the big players in such a, educated yet classy manner as well. Not just, okay, well, I think this guy is going to finish 5th, 4th, blah, 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 blah. A lot of nuance, a lot of context. And yes, he does deliver who he feels are going to finish in the top 6 of the Olympia. So that's live. All new episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. Dave, Chris Aceto, and Lee Priest. Again, another comprehensive breakdown of not only the Olympia, but some of the new changes that we're going to see to the Olympia. Obviously, there is a new format for the press conference, the kickoff to the Olympia weekend on Thursday. So that and a whole lot more right now on the channel. Again, if you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss everything that we have coming up this week. We still have the interview with Kevin Levrone, Lee Haney. It's going to be dropping over the course of the next couple of days. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more preview content with Dave, Lee Priest, and then, of course, the Whack Pack tomorrow on After Hours. Let's go to the questions. The first 2 questions on this show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. First question. I've been following your workouts on your post weekly in the app. Why do you use cables predominantly for arms?
It's a good question. And by the way, this is from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. It's $29 a month. You get Dave Palumbo, me, in your back pocket as your coach. It's all my writings, all my videos I've ever done, and they keep adding and accumulating in one spot so you can find them. watch them, all my protocols, diets, off-season pre-contest cycles, all that crazy good stuff. Plus, we put up a workout every single week, and I answer everyone's questions in an open forum. So you see everyone's questions, everyone's answers, and I do a weekly Q&A where I take the best questions from the app and I answer them in a video format. So you get an extra Ask Dave. This is all for $29 a month. So it's great value. It's a great stocking stuffer to buy someone. I got to tell you, a lot of people have been telling their friends about them, and we've gotten a lot of signups in the last 6 months. And I want to thank you guys for the support. Getting back to the original question, what was the original question?
The original question is, why do you prefer cables predominantly for your arms?
I'm kidding. All right. Cables, what I found, and I have a very long arm, as you can see. So when I was competing, I found that I had a lot of trouble building mass on my biceps and triceps, doing the conventional, barbell curls, skull crushers, close bench pressing. I felt it, but I kind of felt it in other body parts too. It wasn't like my arms never really got crazy pumped. And I think it's because the kinesiology aspect of having a long arm and doing these exercises was not conducive to putting most of the force onto that muscle. And Vince Taylor turned me on to cables, unilateral cable movements where you can actually really isolate the arms. And I started and I gave it a shot after I had an arthroscopic surgery on my shoulder, and I was rehabbing and coming back. And I said, I'm doing these cable exercises so that I don't hurt myself. And meanwhile, I'm getting a better pump, and I'm getting I feel like my arms are growing from this. It's crazy. And so as the shoulder got better, and I started doing more and more weight, and I got up to heavy weights, and I realized that I was lifting really heavy weights, but everything I was doing was isolating the movement, like the bicep curls. And once again, it's not really, a cable movement is not like a machine where the machine stabilizes everything for you. You're still stabilizing with a cable, but it keeps continuous tension on the arm. And it allowed me to utilize the muscles that I wasn't really using. And my arms grew. They grew a lot. We're talking 2 inches from when I started doing that. And I started turning other people onto it. And a lot of people get a lot of really good results with that. And because let's face it, when you're bench pressing, you're shoulder pressing, you're using your triceps. When you're doing back, you're using your biceps indirectly. You think you really need to do more compound movements like skull crushers and close bench press. It's like redundant. So when you do isolation for arms, and I'm not talking light weights, I'm talking heavy weights with good form, full range of motion, but you're isolating the arms one at a time so that you get equal symmetry on both sides. I just find that they respond really well. And if you give it a shot and do it give yourself like 3 months on it, I guarantee you will see improvements in your arms.
Second question, again, these questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. What vegetables do you suggest during the off season?
I usually tell my guys that if you want to do vegetables, you could have an unlimited amount of green vegetables, in your diet. If that's something you like. Some people like to have a salad with every meal, or they like to have, broccoli or green beans and asparagus. I don't have a problem. I eat vegetables every night. I don't eat them at every meal because I just don't have time to do it. But at night, I always cut carrots up. I make mushrooms with whatever I'm cooking, whether it be chicken or beef, whatever, fish. I usually have peppers. I'll change it around, green, red, yellow peppers. I'll cut those up. I have cucumbers every night. And I'll usually, I'll salt them. I'll put some mustard on them. And I make like a little mini salad. Sometimes I'll eat arugula, or I'll put some salad in there. I mix it up according to whatever my taste buds actually dictate. Sometimes, like I know this weekend when we're at the Olympia, I will probably eat zero vegetables because we'll probably be shoving food down our throat just to get the meals down, which is always par for the course. I remember when they used to hold it at that Orleans hotel in Vegas. We used to go to there was like Fuddruckers there.
Fuddruckers, yep.
Sparrow's Pizza. And I remember after every single night, every show that they would have, whether it be the Meet the Olympians or we did the prejudging or the night show, we would go to that place, and usually we would get like Sparrows, like a plate of ziti or pizza with a chicken breast or something like that on it. And I mean, there just wasn't any time to eat. But usually when I have time to prepare, I like to have some vegetables. And once again, you're really not doing it for the nutritional value because there's not that much nutrition in vegetables anymore. That's why I always recommend green drinks, greens and fruit and vegetable extract drinks. The Mineralize has, the 2 most potent fruit extracts in there with lycopene coming from tomatoes and blueberry extract coming from, dark berries. So I'm a big believer in getting it from supplements more so, but the roughage for your intestinal tract is really good. So if you're always eating non-roughage foods, it's just not good for your, you should try to get something green and I eat all my vegetables raw. The only thing I cook is my mushrooms. I'll saute them, but I eat everything else raw. And I think it's just good for your body, your teeth to chew and stuff like that. And that's just the way I feel about it. I don't think you have to eat it at every single meal. Matter of fact, if you eat too much vegetables, and I have a lot of my women clients find this, they get gassy. And they're like, oh, I don't understand why I'm so gassy. Well, I'm like, you're eating broccoli 4 times a day. Matter of fact, to be honest with you, I love broccoli. I had to cut the broccoli out. I couldn't figure out what was causing me to have gas. Broccoli gives you really bad gas. I don't know whether you cook it or you don't cook it or eat it raw. And I said, you know what? I can't take it. I'm laying in bed and all I'm doing is farting all night. I'm like, forget this. So I just don't eat broccoli anymore. I know it's good for you and it supposedly has a lot of good nutrients, but there's a product by Life Extension, makes a cruciferous vegetable, which is basically broccoli, cauliflower. It's like an extract product in pill form. And I take that for whatever, the anti-cancer effects of it. But in reality, I don't eat any more broccoli. Very rarely do I.
Let's go to our Instagram and Facebook questions. If you're not already following us on Facebook, just look up RX Muscle and you'll in the search bar and you'll find our page on Instagram, official_RX Muscle. I'm glad this person has this from Matthew, and I can never pronounce the names. Alb or Albe. So if you're watching, you want to comment below. I have a lot of old tubs of Isolized, and I mean throughout the years. And so I have no idea, if they're still good or not. I mean, we're talking about tubs that are like 6-7 years old. They've been sitting in my garage or in my basement. Right. So what's the oldest expired tub of Isolized you've consumed? I have some that are from, says April 23. So, I mean, that's only a few months. Yeah, so, that's not bad. Lightweight there. But first off, if you want to explain, I guess, what the max would be as far as an old tub of protein, and what is the oldest one that you've had?
First of all, I've used 10-year-old protein. Not that I'm recommending you do that, but I like cherry vanilla. It was one of our original flavors, and I found a couple cherry vanilla tubs shoved to the back of my cabinet somewhere, and I pulled them out. And I said, I'm going to try these. And what happens is the protein doesn't go bad, especially if it's sealed. It's dried way. It's not getting bad. You could go for 100 years probably, it'd still be good. What happens is the flavoring system can break down over time. So sometimes it'll lose a little bit of its flavor, but it won't. It does. The protein itself doesn't go bad, and so you're not going to get sick using it. Once again, I'm not recommending you do it, but I've used 10-year-old, cherry vanilla Isolized, and it actually still tasted good. So. I don't think there's anything to worry about if the thing is sealed. Now, if you had an open container and it was a couple years old, I'd probably say just throw it out. But if you have a closed, sealed container, there's no air in there, you're probably fine. Protein lasts pretty good. A lot of times with vitamins, they can oxidize. So you might look at them and you might look at the capsule, which is normally white. It might have some weird coloration to it, like a rusty color, because they oxidize, and the oxidation causes rust, And so a lot of times over time, vitamins will go bad because they oxidize. And sometimes fatty fish oils can go rancid. Sometimes, sometimes they don't. They'll last a long time too. Sometimes they're pretty stable. And, creatine doesn't really go bad either. That could last a really long time as long as it's in a dry container. Stuff like pre-workouts, unfortunately, what I found out the hard way is that over time, they can get hard. They get like rocks, and you got to start trying to break them apart. So they can definitely get wet, I guess, because some of the ingredients have moisture in them by nature. And then what happens is it starts congealing the pre-workout. So it's good to shake up your pre-workout all the time, just to keep it from doing that. But over time, that'll go. But protein, pretty stable. Speaking of creatine, I think we have a creatine sale, don't we?
Yes. I'm glad that you mentioned that. Right now at speciesnutrition.com, we are having a one-day Halloween sale. Creolize is back. It is back and it is discounted. And when I say discounted heavily. We're talking about a product that retails for about $40, $17.99. That's only for today. So when this episode goes live, you only have till midnight Eastern Standard Time to get Crealized for $17.99, as well as 25% off speciesnutrition.com, the entire website, using promo code BOO25. That's BOO 25, only till tonight at speciesnutrition.com. Dave, if you want to just maybe give a quick explainer as far as, because a lot of people have been asking about Crealize, why it had not been on our shelves. Explain, I guess, why the delay in getting it back. But as far as, why, and, the fact that it is back now at speciesnutrition.com.
Everyone knows that I like to put out the highest quality products with the highest quality ingredients with effective dosages. And Crealize is nothing different. We use a ultra micronized creatine. The stuff is like baby powder. It's so pulverized that it mixes, it solubilizes much more easily than a lot of the other, creatines on the market. And because of that, it's more absorbable. So we pay a little bit more to begin with for our creatine. And then with the whole COVID thing that was going on and prices of raw materials went through the roof. I mean, we're looking at 4 times my cost to buy creatine. I was like, you know what? We're being gouged. I refuse to do business with terrorists. That's what I say. That when you're being gouged by, manufacturers, and it wasn't our manufacturers, it's the raw material providers overseas, wherever it comes from. And I just said, you know what? We just won't sell it when they want to bring the price down to a normal range. Because I refuse to raise the price to my customer 4 times. I refuse. Now, is it still higher? It's still higher than it was. It was really low at one point. But I don't mind paying, market value, fair market value. But they were gouging because people couldn't get it. And there were still some companies that were selling it, and they were selling it for a lot of money, and people had to pay for it. But I just didn't feel right doing it. So I said, you know what? I'll just wait till the prices come into more reasonable range. Now they're in reasonable. They're still higher, but they're in reasonable range. So just to kind of celebrate the fact that we haven't had it, I wanted to do a sale. So we're giving people pretty much almost cost on this product just to get it back out there again. Once again, only one day. By the way, I would be in my costume for Halloween, but we recorded this the day before. It would look kind of silly if I was walking around on Monday with a Halloween costume. Tomorrow, for after hours with the Whack Pack, we will all be in costume. So
nice.
With a spooky Halloween theme for tomorrow, you're going to catch that live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. But for now, by tomorrow, the sale will be off. So, or I should say, tomorrow the sale is on. Wednesday, Thursday, it'll be off. So make sure you act tomorrow. And don't forget, Boo25 will give you 25% off the entire site, except the Crealize, because the Crealize is already on sale.
All right, so we're going to now transition to some Olympia-related questions. When we posted this on Instagram and Facebook, we did promise this would be more of an Olympia edition, so we will take Olympia-related questions. Later on in the show, Dave will give his predictions for top 6. Gil Rolone, last year's Olympia, Mr. Olympia, Big Ramy, dropped 4 spots. Who this year could drop in places? Maybe not 4 spots, but something a little bit more unexpected.
I think if anyone drops dramatically from last year's placings, it's going to be because they just came in off. I don't think there's anyone out there whose physique has gotten worse where they would drop. I mean, Brandon Curry dropped last year because just as, almost as much as Ramy did, because he was off too. So, I mean, theoretically, anyone can come in. I mean, Hadi could come in off and drop down to 4th place. I mean, I don't see that as probably a potential scenario because Hadi is always in shape, but it is possible. We could see, Derek Lunsford fall, but it's unlikely only because we've been seeing, the great stuff he's been putting up and he looks like he's in really good shape. So the only thing that's going to make guys that are in the best shape drop would be other guys coming in better. So if like Samson Dowda and Andrew Jack come in at their absolute best and Hunter Labrada shows up at his best, he had dropped last year down out of the top 5. Those guys can move up, and if they move up, they could knock some people down. So once again, it's very hard to be the predictor of who's not going to be on their best game. It's much more easily or I find it easier to try to like handicap the show based on the fact everyone's in shape. Now we know that's not going to be the case, but I like to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. All right, if Derek Lunsford is at his best, will he win the Olympia? There's a very good possibility he does. If Hadi Choopan is at his best, will he defend his title? Probably very good chance it is. If Samson Dowd is at his best, he might win the Olympia. Right, but we know that that's not going to be the case. Everyone never comes in at their best. And when we were talking on Heavy Muscle Radio with Lee Priest and Chris Aceto last night, that was one of the things we were saying that's so difficult about predicting who's going to be in the top 10 for the Olympia. We just don't know who's going to be at their best and who's going to not be at their best.
I promised that we were going to stick to Olympia, but you being the keto expert, I did want to take this one because you do see a lot more keto breads on shelves now. Your thoughts on keto bread? And I guess there's this one Arnold brand keto bread. Your thoughts on keto bread and keto bread and some of the other keto offerings now that they have products will diversify with.
There's a few of them that I like. And, we were using one for a while in my house. And then my wife did some research, and there was a couple of the ingredients that were not good in there, like some cancer causing ingredients potentially. And so we stopped using it. So you got to be careful because sometimes, a lot of these companies will put stuff into the mix, so to speak, to try to make it taste better or give it some kind of substance. And those ingredients are not the best ingredients that you should be consuming. They're not necessarily the healthiest ingredients. So for me, if I'm going to switch to something that's more ketogenic, I want it to be healthy too. I don't want to be, in other words, I don't want to give up sugar and then take in something that's poisonous, to my body. So I think that some of the good products out there, and there are good ones out there, and I don't specifically have brands in front of me. If someone would have asked me, I could have prepared. But there are some brands that you got to just read the ingredient list and see what's in these products to see what they're using. If they're using a ton of vegetable oil, which we know is pro-inflammatory. I mean, bread is by nature really not the best, source of carbohydrates to consume, just because they put so many things into the bread to preserve it and stuff like that. I mean, they say that white bread is pretty much equivalent to table sugar in terms of nutritional value. And so I try, and don't get me wrong, I'm a hypocrite because I eat a bagel every day. I eat a toasted bagel every day pretty much, but I'm not using excessive amounts of it. So like I said, if you have 2 pieces of toast in the morning with, your 6 whole eggs or something like that, it's not the end of the world, in terms of, bodybuilding off season. Pre-contest, I wouldn't be putting any kind of keto breads or there's nothing that, that's going to be well, yes, it's keto theoretically, but, I wouldn't eat a ketogenic, protein bar when I was dieting for a show either, because the quality of ingredients are just not that good. So if you're looking off season to maybe limit carb intake, you don't want to get excessive amounts. Using a keto bread is probably something, good to keep you under your limit, especially if you're very carb sensitive, but I wouldn't be employing that, while you're dieting.
I'm trying to think how would I phrase this to give some context. Question is funniest Olympia backstage stories. I mean, in all this time that you've been covering bodybuilding as a media personality, I don't know how much access you've gotten backstage, but if you have, I guess some of the funniest moments either you directly saw or maybe you've heard backstage at the Olympia.
Yeah, I think probably the funniest backstage stories, and I haven't been backstage that often for the Olympia because remember Joe Weider ran a few years and they just never let anyone back there. But even at any show, the fun, guys farting, girls farting. I mean, those are the funny stories you hear backstage. Because let's face it, when you're eating certain types of food and you're not drinking, you get dehydrated. Some people get constipated. Some people get gas, and those are usually funny things that go on backstage. I don't know. It's a pretty serious people are pretty serious backstage at the Olympia. Before. Especially for prejudging and night show. And then once the festivities are, over, so to speak, and all the placings are announced, people tend to get in a better mood and they start having a little bit more fun. But like I said, I've been backstage at other shows, and there's always some kind of controversy or something going on. When the Weeders used to own the show, they used to always people used to get disqualified for wearing bathing suits that weren't covering enough of their butt, which I find kind of funny now because nowadays you have the bikini and the wellness girls with strings, up their butts. And that would never have been allowed back when the Weeders were running the door. So, times change, and, there's different controversies. Back in the 80s and 90s, there used to be a lot, there would be fights backstage. Guys would actually fight each other. Mike Quinn, there was a lot of like hot-headed guys out there. And those were kind of funny, those things, that went on back there. But I don't work backstage. The best person to ask would be the expediters, who are back there all the time. They see all the crazy insanity that goes on back there. But I will tell you one thing. If you've ever been backstage where they have the spray tanning set up, and they have these tents, I've never seen. You could take the most uptight person who wouldn't show an ounce of skin on their body, and you put them backstage at a show, and people just walk around naked. They don't care. For some reason, when you're in that like dehydrated, tanned up mindset of competing, no one cares if they're naked or not. It's like it doesn't even become you become asexualized completely. And so if you just walked back there and you didn't know like what was going on, you would think there was a nudist colony back there. It's crazy. But aside from that, like I said, I'm not back there on a regular basis. I don't really see what goes on behind the scenes.
I think we just uncovered something. You literally just lifted the curtain for what happens backstage. And I think now we have some more juicy things to, I guess, envision of what goes on backstage at the Olympia. Interesting hypothetical here, just from Made Men 1892. How do you think Colin Von Moger would have stacked up against Sebum had he not gotten injured? And I'll take it a step further. Forget injuries, just as far as, I guess, some of his lifestyle choices that he has made over the last few years. Everything goes perfect. Do you think Colin Von Moger is able to stand next to Chris Bumstead?
No. I think Chris Bumstead's in a class by himself. Urs Kelsinski and Ramon Dino are probably, number 2 and number 3 best classic physique people in the world. And Chris and I were discussing this on Heavy Muscle Radio last night. And Bumstead is like unbeatable in the sense that he needs to beat himself. He'd have to come in with bad conditioning or come in with an injury in order to lose to these guys. He's that good. Colin Van Moger is not even a top 5. I don't think he would have even been a top 5 classic guy. I think he's got a marketable look. There's a difference. Remember, competitive look versus marketable look. Colin Van Moger, one of the most marketable guys around, especially since he was, in the Arnold movie or the Joe Weider movie, whatever.
Bigger.
And he, has been very, very popular on social media. Super marketable. Will make tons of money, if he didn't kind of mess up his life a lot. And he's probably still making money, even though he did make some poor decisions. But I don't think competitively he can ever stand next to a Chris Bumstead or any guys in the top 5. I don't think he had that kind of a physique. He was good, but he wasn't great. And there's a difference. And once again, he's probably got a better option because he's so marketable that he can take his physique and he can go and act with it, or he can take his physique and use social media to make a lot of money for himself. There's a very, very small percentage of people who are built genetically so good that they could win an Olympia. And you don't realize it until you actually compete in the sport. And then you go backstage and you see a guy like C-Bum standing back there. You see a Kevin Levrone standing back there. You see a Ronnie Coleman. And then you say to yourself, oh, I get it. Yeah, I can't beat these guys. They're different. It's a genetic sport. And unfortunately, very, very few people can be Mr. Olympia or Miss Olympia. And that's just the reality of it. And when people realize that, then you go and you start to find your own niche. Hey, where can I make money in this sport? I might not be the best in the world, but I can find something else that I'm the best at or that I'm really good at and that I can make a living from in the sport. And a lot of people have been successful coaches. They have successful online social media presences where they can sell pretty much anything. Maybe they sell T-shirts. Maybe they have their own nutrition line. There's so many options now out there, which didn't exist 20 years ago. I think it's a great time to be in our industry.
Before we go to the part where Dave is going to go on record with his Olympia predictions, let's go to NY Bigger. TRT question. If someone has a 200 mg week TRT protocol, are there any pros, cons to doing 100 mg of test E and 100 mg of EQ per week? Would that be the equivalent to 200 mg week of just test E?
No. No, because once you stack two drugs together, you're creating a pharmacological effect, even though the dosage is the same. And theoretically, you would think that it's actually not as strong, right? Because testosterone is much stronger than EQ. So if you do 200 milligrams a week of testosterone versus 100 testosterone, 100 EQ, you would think, well, technically the testosterone should be stronger. But for some reason, when you stack two drugs together, they have a synergistic effect and you get this pharmacological drug-like effect and you grow better. So once you put two drugs together, you're basically doing a cycle, okay? I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's just the way it is. And you could try it. You can do an experiment. Believe me, I tried it. I forget when it was. I did some. I think it was right after I hurt when I had my surgery on my ankle last year. I was doing 100 or like 80 milligrams of testosterone a week, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to try 40, and I'm going to put like 50 milligrams of DECA because I had a lot of inflammation in my ankle. I wanted to see if it would help, and I started putting on size like I was on like 600 milligrams of testosterone. It was like I was growing. I noticed a big difference. I gained a lot of weight pretty quickly. And I was using minuscule amounts, and it was because the two drugs have a synergistic effect with each other. And so you can't really equate the two. Now, health-wise, if your blood pressure is normal, they're not toxic drugs, it's probably not bad for you. But understand that you can't walk around saying I'm on TRT if you're doing two drugs. It's just a terminology that is different. That's all.
All right. We now get to the point. I'm going to pull up a notepad so I could jot these down. This is the part. This is the year. This is the part of the year where Dave Palumbo is going to go on record with his top 6 of the 2023 Mr. Olympia. Let me pull up a notepad. All right, Dave. Let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. When all is said and done and they have a presenter come out on stage with a check for whatever the dollar amount and a prize for whatever, that 6th place award is going to go to who?
Yeah, I hate doing this. I don't like it because I'm always wrong. I'm going on record. I'm going on record as saying that I don't think my predictions are going to be correct. I'm just saying what I'd like to see my predictions. This is assuming, in my mind, everyone looks their best. That's how I'm creating these predictions. Okay, assuming everyone looks their best. Now, that's not going to happen. So, number 6, I'm going to say that's my swing one that I'm not sure of because it's either going to be. I'm going to say Hunter Labrada, 6th.
Okay. Strong out of the gate. So Hunter Labrada going from 9th last year?
Yeah,
7th.
I don't remember. He was 8th or something like that. I don't remember.
I'll look that up real quick just so I have some 7th. Yeah, 7th. So okay, it goes from 7th and he moves up a spot. All right. In the 5th position, 5th place check and prize goes to.
I think Nick Walker is going to get 5th.
Wow!
At least I got him in the top 5. A lot of guys don't even have him in the top 5.
Major upset alert! There are going to be people in the comment section that are either going to vehemently agree with you or vehemently disagree with you. Yeah. All right, strong. So we got Hunter Labrada in 6th. Nick Walker in 5th. So now all of a sudden the crowd is like, ooh, anticipation building. Does that mean Brandon Curry moves up? Does that mean Andrew Jack Samson Dowda moving up? What do we have for number 4? The check for whatever, and the prize for the 4th place finish goes to?
I have Derek Lunsford 4th.
What? Oh my goodness.
I got to tell you this. One guy is going to be left out, and then I really didn't want to do that, but I just don't know where to put him. But I'll make an exception at the end after I give my complete lineup.
The internet is about to be lit ablaze right now. Yeah. So Derek Lunsford finishing number 4 1 year after being runner-up to Mr. Olympia Hadi Choopan. By the way, we gotta get a confirmation on the official pronunciation of Hadi, because Milo said it was, no, he said a Choopan. Yeah. Meanwhile, people in the comment section are saying no, that's not how it's pronounced. One of our favorite Afghan restaurants on Long Island is called Choopan, the same spelling. So I have no, I'm sure it's not Choopan, like how I guess we say it, but anyway, we'll get
Well, you better figure it out. You'll be announcing his name at the press conference, so
that would be good to know. Yes.
You better.
All right. So Hunter Labrada in 6th, according to Dave Palumbo. Nick Walker in 5th. Derek Lunsford in 4th. So already 2 shockers here in Dave Palumbo's top 6. All right, so this is where it gets interesting, because now we have left the combination of the 2019 Mr. Olympia, Brandon Curry, finished 4th last year. Samson Dowda, top 6 last year, coming off his Arnold Classic champion. Andrew Jack, who was 8th or 9th last year, obviously coming in off last year, but coming in 3rd at the Arnold Classic. And then, of course, the reigning Mr. Olympia, Hadi Choopan. Okay. The check for 3rd place in the prize will go to whom?
I got Hadi Choopan 3rd.
Wow, it will be a new champion. Bob Ciccarello is going to raise somebody's hand and say, and new. All right. That means that the title of Mr. Olympia comes down to between either the 2019 champion, Brandon Curry, either the Arnold Classic champion, Samson Dowda, or are we about to shock the world and put Andrew Jack in the winner's circle? Who is going to be the runner-up at the 2023 Olympia?
This is a tough one, and I'm only going with this person because of the fact that I think he needs another year. I'm going to put Andrew Jack 2nd.
Wow. So that means one of Brandon Curry or Samson Dowda has tumbled out of the top 6. Dave Palumbo, when Bob Ciccarello says, and new Mr. Olympia, who is going to have their hand raised? Who is going to have the confetti falling on them?
I think Samson Dowda is going to win this show. That's my prediction. And once again, I want to provide. I really don't know what to do with Brandon Curry, to be honest with you, because I'm not sure what we're going to see. I'm looking at when I look at his Instagram pictures, and videos, I think he looks great. And I know he has the ability to beat a lot of these guys. And I know that every one of these guys that I mentioned, these 6 guys, are not going to be at their best. So someone's going to be kicked out of that top 6. And I know Brandon's right there. So Brandon can really go anywhere from 1st down to 6th place, easily replace someone in my pick. And I don't know where to put him. So I left him out because I just don't know where to put him, because I don't know who's going to show up, which Brandon's going to show up. If the best Brandon shows up, he could win. But this is the way I based my picks. I'm banking on the fact that Andrew and Samson will be at their best, which may or may not be true. If they're at their best, I believe that no one else can beat them in the lineup. I think they're both that good, and they're that dominant. They're that wide. They're that tall. They have that many bells and whistles. So I'm going to bet on the fact that, assuming they're in the best shape of their life, that those 2 guys will be 1st and 2nd. And I think you can flip-flop those guys. I think Samson's a little more complete than Andrew is, especially in the lower body. So that's why I went with Samson. But I wouldn't be surprised by this scenario that I gave you whatsoever. However, the only one that I would swap out is, like I said, I can easily put Brandon in 6th place ahead of Hunter. If Hunter's not at his absolute best, I think Hunter has better legs than Brandon, but Brandon has a nicer upper body. And I think that, Nick Walker could be 3rd place here too. If Derek's a little off, or, if Hadi's not 100%. So this is based on my own, viewpoint. If everyone's at their best.
I will say this, though. This is sound logic, because you've been consistent all along throughout the course of this run up to the Olympia, in that that if Samson Dowda and Andrew Jack are completely on, that in your opinion, again, you've been consistent about your logic behind it, that if they're on, nobody in the lineup is better than them in terms of just pure shape structure. And I'll go as far as to say, I mean, even in the interview you did with Jay Cutler and one of the clips that we've already posted, Jay Cutler said essentially the same about Samson and Andrew, and that just given their profile, they have the potential to push Hadi and Derek out of the top two, which I guess is playing out in your scenario as well.
I mean, Ramy beat Hadi at his best. So, I mean, why can't Samson? Samson's got better shape than Ramy did. He's just as big, pretty much, And so I think Hadi is a guy who wins when the big guys are off, and when the big guys are on, I think he has trouble beating those guys. Now, the only thing he's got to his advantage now is he's the reigning Mr. Olympia. So right. A lot of times they give you the benefit of the doubt. You got to knock the champ off. That's the only thing that if it's close, Hadi could win because of the fact that he has the title under his belt. But look, Brandon was the reigning champ in 2020 and he lost, right? And, so it's just the way it goes, it's the sport. And that's why it's so hard to handicap bodybuilding because we just don't know how these guys are going to look on stage. Everyone says they're their best at the press conference. Everyone says this is my year. I gained 20 pounds of muscle. I'm, 30% tighter than I was last. Everyone has the same statistics. And then, the next day you see them on stage and there's some people that are on and some people that are off. And that's just the way it goes. That's bodybuilding.
The most exciting part of going to an Olympia, or just the fact that it is, Olympia weekend, is that you're going to find out the answers to these questions. That all this debate, all the mystery, all the questions that we've had about, each of these bodybuilders. And there are so many storylines, and I'm glad that we were able to uncover a lot of these storylines coming into this Olympia. But this is the most satisfying part of it, that we are just days away from getting those answers. Whether it's going to be a repeat for Hadi Choopan or whether we're going to have a new Mr. Olympia, another new Mr. Olympia in an era that title has shifted a lot of different hands. We are going to find that out on Saturday night. So in 5 days. So a lot of excitement. This has been a lot of fun, leading up to the Olympia. Obviously, we want to thank our friends over at Muscle Tech for their support, not only of our run-up, but then obviously everything we're going to be doing at the Olympia. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, Dave's going to be there. Chris Aceto is going to be there. We may have Jay Cutler on our final wrap-ups as well. So you never know, especially when Dave is in person at the Olympia. You never know who we're going to have there, who we're going to bump into, but we're sure to capture everything that we're going to get or that we're going to come across over the course of this weekend. So again, if you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss anything that we have coming up over the next few days. Yeah. Contest related, around the town related, whatever we put on video, you're going to be able to see it firsthand. And then obviously, if you're not already following us on Instagram, official_RX Muscle, we're going to be loading up our feed, our stories, anything and everything we come across, we'll be documenting the whole thing. If you're not going to be there, you can vicariously live through us. And, what we enjoy, obviously, is the feedback that we get from you throughout the course of the weekend. So, whatever it is that you want, let us know. Obviously, we're there to cover the sport for you, for the most hardcore fans and all.
Plus, don't forget the post-game show. So,
yes,
right immediately after the live stream is over, you'll go right to the post-game show, which is going to be hosted by Kamali, Lee Priest, Amin, Alai, Armand Adibi, and whoever else is going to join these guys. They're going to be wrapping up the whole show. So right after the show is over, they'll be talking about who they felt should have won. Did the winner deserve it, etc. They'll do that after prejudging on Friday night, after the night show on Saturday night. And then obviously Sid, myself, Chris Aceto, Dennis Wolf, Jay Cutler will wrap up, from the.
Well, actually, so let's flip that a little bit. I believe, and we got to talk to him during the week just to confirm everything. But Dennis Wolf may actually join our studio staff. He's going to be back home in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
So perfect. Yeah, we may actually have the benefit of having Dennis Wolf on our live broadcast. So as soon as the Friday night prejudging and then of course Saturday finals end, go right to the channel. We're going to be live. We're going to have our producer Tyler. Tyler. He's going to be, setting everything up. Yeah, right. So, he's going to be setting everything so that as soon as, literally Bob Chickerl says, all right, everybody, have a good night. Boom, we're going to be live. It's going to be a great, great crew, as Dave just mentioned, that we're going to have as our studio crew. And then, of course, we're going to have our full complement, on site as well. So
I got a question. It's called Ask Sid now. Who think hardly. Think very carefully when you answer this question.
Yes.
Who will join the live from the actual venue wrap up that we do? We haven't mentioned his name. Who will invariably come out of the crowd and jump into the wrap up without us even asking him?
Milos?
No, possibly. No, but that
Samir?
This is a guarantee. Samir, you got it. Samir Benoot. 1983 Mr. Olympia will definitely, for sure, be in the wrap-up somehow.
You know, I feel so bad only because even last year, I didn't know Samir was standing like 5 feet to the right of me. We wrapped up, and I see him standing there, and I'm like, I felt so bad because I'm like,
got to get Samir in there. Samir,
Samir, if I knew you were standing there, I would have pulled you. And he's like, no, it's okay. It's like, I'm like, Samir, you should have just come up to me. Like,
yeah, I always grab Samir and tell him just come over, and when I'm there, but I haven't been there, so
yeah, no,
yeah, Samir.
But again, that's the most that aside from obviously what's going to happen on stage. Look, I've been lucky, really to be going to this event now since 2014, and really to the best part of it. And obviously, Dave, you're going to experience this for the first time since 2018 is the fact that you're going to see so many people that you haven't seen in a very long time. Obviously, you talk to everyone, but it's different, right? I mean, obviously, even with Chris Aceto, you talk to him on a weekly basis, on a fairly semi-regular basis throughout the week. You do your show with him, but it's a different thing to be in person, hanging out, and then obviously, Chris, doing what it is that we do. So
Chris will be on my couch for sure. He loves to hang out on the couch and have me tell him stories.
Well, I mean, look, we had Chris on the Heavy Muscle Radio, and this was Sunday night, and he was already on 2 hours of sleep. The guy is an absolute machine. He has so many competitors in the Olympia lineup. I've seen him. I mean, literally every time I go to him, his eyes are like half open. There are times like I remember I forgot my camera equipment in his room and I had to wait outside of his hotel room for like an hour because he was sleeping because he needed a nap or whatever. But anyway, thank you all for your support. We look forward to all the festivities all throughout the course of this week. If there is something in particular that you want to see out of us during the course of this Olympia weekend, obviously we're going to be there in person. Drop a comment below. What is it that you want to see? Is there somebody that you want to hear from? Is there somebody that you want us to go and interview? Is there a video topic that you would like us to cover or whatever? Obviously, there are going to be some different things we're going to be able to do with Dave live in person. So drop your comment below. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button. As always, we appreciate all of your support. A reminder, right now, speciesnutrition.com Creolize for $17.99. That expires tonight at midnight. October 31st is a one-day Halloween sale. And then promo code BOO25 for 25% off at speciesnutrition.com. Again, expiring tonight, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. Thank you for watching.